coming to meet me with the old Dutch lady, travelling through the dawn. Together we're starting a new journey, a voyage of discovery. The moment is full of possibility and a touch of fear, fear of the unknown. They're travelling through the world of human beings and human gods. I am in the wilderness. I believe it's impossible to make a journey like this without being changed by it. In our everyday lives, we put up barriers to keep certain things at bay. We close our ears to the voices of our ancestors. But the water dissolves those barriers and opens us to the many layers of culture that lie beneath the here and now. The cliché says that travel broadens the mind. I'm more interested in depth than breadth. But to make a journey, you must be a practical mystic. You must have a map which shows a route from Ballinasloe in County Galway to Drumshanbo in County Leitrim. Ballinasloe was a port once, and this was the harbour. But it's been stranded by the outgoing tide of history on a reef of old limestone. The empty eyes of windows stare out at nothing. Recession is not just a modern hazard. Waves of unemployment have been crashing on this shore for decades. Walls etched with lichen, where the bargemen used to tie when the Grand Canal came this far. Observe what isn't here. Listen to the silence. Half a century of dereliction. This canal will never see a boat again. The trees are reclaiming their inheritance. I must leave Ballinasloe by a humble ditch. The route has been diverted by history. My purpose is to reach the River Suck and travel down to make the assignation. My boat is a Shannon angling cot, a design the Vikings left behind them in the estuary 1,000 years ago. It's a sort of time machine. And my muscles soon develop a pleasant rhythm, in tune with the journey. There's a good current helping us along our time flow, but the practical difficulties of river travel prevent too much distraction of the mind. These are small dangers, little obstacles. They keep you occupied. But lurking on the bank are dangers of a more sinister kind.
Giant hogweed is a plant that was introduced into Ireland back in the late 1800s. But in the recent past, say in the last 15 to 20 years, the plant has begun to spread quite rapidly throughout our river corridors. I suppose one of the main reasons why we are concerned about the unwarranted spread of the plant is because it represents quite a serious human health hazard. If one is to break the leaves or the stem, the skin becomes inflamed, and within a few hours, very serious blisters, very painful blisters, erupt in the skin. Simply and solely, my advice to anyone in the vicinity of this plant is stay well clear of it. Even brushing against it can elicit the response I spoke about earlier.
I'm travelling to an assignation, a meeting with old friends. Dick and Declan Carney have shared past adventures with me. They've brought Scolivar, the old Dutch lady, as far upriver as she can go. Scolivar is a barge yacht. She was built in Holland in 1913 for gentlemen to race in. The First World War put a damper on her sporting debut, but she did spend a decade or two racing across the Dutch inland seas, and was lucky enough to travel to eastern England before the Second World War broke out. From there, she sailed to Ireland and cruised our coasts and inland waterways in the late 40s and 50s.
Well, Dick, finally
In the 70s, she was discovered, a rusting, abandoned hull in an estuary in County Cork, and lovingly restored to prepare her for a second century.
Good to see you again. She's looking very well, isn't she? Yeah, she looks great.
Is also one of the last of a heroic breed, the boatsmen, and his son Declan has, by inheritance and acquisition, many of Dick Carney's old skills. Dick made the journey from Ballinasloe to the Shannon in the old days, along the now derelict canal. There are plans to dredge the suck, which runs parallel to the old canal line, and put locks on it, so the navigation will again stretch that far, for bigger boats than cots. We are moving on, waltzing gently round the bends, with the current urging at the boat's broad buttocks, caught up again by the momentum of river cruising. History is also a travel story. Barges go and railways come, and railways in their turn feel the unkind breath of progress. I find it gives me a sense of perspective.
Did I ever believe that I'd be standing here now with you on a branch of the Grand Canal, where boats ran by, where children and where people fished and where people swam, and now it's just a solid bed with a 3-foot steel railway line laid down and trains going back and forward every day. As you know, laying down railway line on bog can create many, many major problems, but the actual bed of the old canal was a ready-made bed for us. Progress is progress. I would be a bit sorry about it, but I mean, if you bear in mind what the development of the bogs in the Midlands of Ireland and in this part of the country as well has done for the economy of this country, then you just can't be sorry.
Progress is progress, and even the yellow bog gobblers look as though they're on their way to join the dinosaurs. Technology is such a transient thing. The engineers don't design for beauty or for permanence. Progress is progress, and it rolls on steel bogies across the soft belly of the bog. And long before Ballinasloe and the Grand Canal Company, this waterway was an important route for travellers. Pirates and saints, fishermen in dugout canoes, pilgrims in hair shirts, and soldiers of fortune. There's a very important place near here. For nearly 1,000 years, it was one of the most important places in the land. Tucked into the elbow of country between the Shannon and the Suck, at a great confluence of waterways, lies Clonfert.
Well, it goes back to St. Brendan the Navigator, who has a very obvious connection with water, originating in Ardfert in County Kerry at the beginning of the 6th century, and dying at one of his other foundations in Annadown, also in County Galway, as this cathedral is, in the end of the 6th century. And then it is said that he's buried here, and he died either 577 or 584. This was started, according to whoever you believe, around in the 1160s, is the simplest way of saying it. And the Great West Door is regarded as the high point of the Hiberno-Romanesque. It is superb, and it has all sorts of decorations that are not found in other Hiberno-Romanesque decorations, and they seem to have Scandinavian roots, which is very interesting. Again, Vikings and travelling across water.
For me, the adventurers who travelled across water have become a metaphor of Irish history. St. Brendan, the other holy men, the Vikings and the traders. They are what made us. The present is a product of this past. Log of the Scolavar, Day 1. Clonfert is a strange place. It oozes with time, is noisy with ancestors. I feel a strange compulsion to revisit it before the journey can continue, to see the ruined bishop's palace behind the church. It's a location where I could put the theory to the test. The theory that my voyage consists only of an accumulation of previous voyages along the river, that the water is dissolving the barriers, and the Jungian voices of the past are on the verge of audibility. I've come here looking for something, but it's a little hard to explain exactly what it is. and I'm a bit nervous, using the rational part of my brain to quell the uneasy messages coming from the other part. Why should the past be frightening? Ghosts can't threaten me. It's quite ridiculous to believe that a ruined building invaded by trees has any significance beyond the obvious. My ancestors are important to me because they've contributed to what I am. They've made a cultural bequest. But they're not required to appear. They should restrict their manifestations to the realm of theory. I think I'll go. Quit while I'm ahead. Leave before I'm upstaged by dead men looking for a piece of the action. And when the sun is on the water and the tiller in your palm, the past recedes back to its proper place. The sheer pleasure of travelling on the river is all that counts. This is a beautiful country, and I think there's no better way to see it than from a boat. In general, houses keep away from the riverbank, afraid of getting their feet wet in winter floods. The horizons are so big, the edges soft and green, the movements liquid and soothing. The great meeting of the waters where the big River Suck joins the great River Shannon brings me back to the 20th century and its self-confident achievements. Shannon Bridge, a quay attracting pleasure cruisers like iron filings on a magnet. An old bridge of countless arches. Buildings that hint at a past more self-important even than the present. Here are people getting other pleasures from the river.
It's nice in the evening time on a summer's evening to go down by the River Suck or the River Shannon for a few hours and get away from the hustle and bustle of work, and I enjoy it very much. There's plenty of fish here, but I think that you really do need to keep the fish going back in, because without the fish you've got nobody to come here and fish for take their holidays over here. This spot along here at Shannon Bridge is a very favourite spot for a lot of the anglers that are coming over from England especially, and bream is really the fish they're after. It's you against the fish. Somewhere out there's a shoulder of bream. You're sat here and you're trying to locate them and trying to get them to feed. It really is the whole uncertainty of going out fishing and not knowing whether you're going to catch a nice tench or a nice bag of bream. Problems with pollution, they're always there waiting, you know. The bream and rudd especially can be affected by pollution. But I'm glad to say in this area, we've been free of any pollution, but it's always lurking, and I think everybody has to be so diligent.
I set the boat's nose against the current and travel on northwards from Shannon Bridge and its shoals of green. There's good water under the keel, and I can open the throttle and feel the solid Dutch response as Scullivar shoulders aside the water, making time as well as any modern plastic cruiser. I like her prow, rearing up, a swan's neck or a Viking longship. I swing around a bend in the river and come face to face with another chapter of history.
Well, the two main factors that make Clonmacnoise one of Ireland's premier early historic monument sites is that the fact that it contains the grave of the founding saint, St. Kieran, and that it's sited on the crossroads of Ireland. We have the River Shannon and the great Escarry, or great early road of the early Christian period, coming from Dublin across the country. Well, rape and pillage, I think, is the words that most people associate with the site from their school history books. Also, I think the bad press is normally associated with the Vikings, but from research through the annals, we see that we had our own homegrown vandals at the time, and I think the score sheet at the moment reads something like 23 strikes for the Irish, 10 strikes for the Vikings, and a measerly 3 by the English.
The raiding parties from the water ran in light armour up this hill, swinging swords.
The Viking incursions here are twofold, really, two main waves. The first one every school kid in Ireland probably knows about, and that's Turgisr, the Viking chief, who is alleged to have come here in about 844 with a fleet, came down to attack Clonfert, came on here. Eventually, the following year, he was put to death. He was drowned by the king, great king, Maelchoclan Malachy I.
The smell of sweat and blood and fear, the hunger for treasure, the material against the spiritual.
The second wave in the 920s and 30s, when the Limerick Vikings significantly, and they were always, by the way, counterposed to the Dublin Vikings. They were the enemy of the Dublin Vikings. The Limerick men came up here, tried to control Lough Ree, and did so for about 20 years in the 920s and 30s. The reason that they would control this area, would want to have done so, would be to attack all the monasteries. Now, 937, this all came to an end when the Limerick Vikings were defeated by the Dubs of the day, 937, and the Limerick fleet was sunk here near Clonmacnoise in Lough Ree. Very definite date in both Irish and English history, because that was the year also that the Vikings, our Norse Irish, were defeated in England at the Battle of Brunanburh.
Somehow history always appears to me in black and white images, but is actually full colour. The saints and the Vikings saw the same water, reeds and sky that I'm seeing 20 lifetimes later. Something else we share. We'll get to know each other better, these ancestors and myself, before this journey's over.